Hello everyone. Sexual action is the outward expression of sexuality, often referring to having sex. Having sex generates energy that creates happiness, and every man and woman who is an adult has the right to enjoy it. Of course, it also comes with responsibility. Most people have sex naturally as a means to love, passion, and happiness, but there are some people who want to learn how to have sex for pleasure. This in itself is a sign that you have come to mistake having sex for happiness, rather than a means to create the energy of happiness. The current trend in society as a whole is to live for fun and pleasure rather than happiness. Having fun and pleasure sexually is not a bad thing in itself, but the problem is that the majority of information we find on sexuality is about how to enhance sexual sensations physically, and people are not that interested in understanding the nature of human sexuality. It's mainly women who are very deeply wounded and men who are stressed and addicted who turn to ways to enhance pleasure of sex. Women are looking for ways to improve their sexual sensations to feel orgasm, and men are looking for techniques for sex. Let's take a look at why this is a problem. When women's sexual function improves, the pleasure from the sensory organs makes them feel as if wounds in mind disappeared. This is because women feel the pleasure of sex as great as the size of their wounds in mind. The sensory pleasure is temporary, fading away in the absence of stimulation, and the sexual action must be repeated to continue to cover the wounds, which requires someone to do it with. However, since women tend to connect sexual actions from emotions, they don't want to engage in sexual actions with someone who has hurt them. Ironically, the person who causes the most hurt is usually the person they love the most. You have no reason to be hurt by someone who you don't care about. Eventually, sexual actions with the person you love the most disappear, and you may end up having sex with people you don't love if you mistake sexual pleasure for love. This is why you shouldn't use sexual actions to make yourself feel better. Women have good feelings when their wounds are healed, and the more deeply wounded a woman is, the more energy she produces to heal her deep wounds. She needs and has enough energy to heal her deep wounds. If a woman has healed her wounds and has good feelings, and if she has enough sexual information in her memory, her sexual function will improve by itself as her zest energy is activated. Having sexual information doesn't mean taking sexual actions. It literally refers to internal ideas as information and knowledge about sexuality, so women don't need to take sexual actions at all to have a good sexual function. Whether you are a single, married, or divorced woman, you develop the worst condition when you are intentionally made to feel good sexually by adopting specific techniques or methods. Women need to heal their wounds first and then learn about right perceptions, values, and methods of sexual pleasure to be able to create true happiness through sexual actions. Most people think of having free sex with multiple partners as living in sexual happiness for themselves, but for women, sexual happiness is felt and amplified by their emotions mainly. A woman who has lost her heart and feelings is not actually living in her own sexual happiness. She is merely using her body to create the pleasure of sex for the partner, mistaking it for her own bliss. Men, on the other hand, live on mood energy, which is only temporarily felt when their sensory organs are stimulated. Since this mood energy is transient and disappears when the stimulus disappears, men are constantly looking for pleasures that can generate positive moods and passion, the most powerful of which is related to sexual actions, which is why men are generally more sexually active and driven than women. When men like women start to think of having sex not just as a way to generate energy of passion, but as happiness and pleasure in and of itself, they seek out all kinds of information and techniques about sex. These ones accumulate as men perceive sexual information, and these ones cause men's sexual dysfunction. The more men learn about how to have sex better, the faster they develop sexual dysfunction. In order to live a happy life and happy sex life, it is not important to know about techniques and methods of sex. Men and women can reach ultimate sexual happiness and find true happiness in life only when the mechanism of how sexuality works on the body and mind, and the nature of human sexuality are accurately understood and sexual actions are taken accordingly.